Right, okay. I finally gotten around to recording a new epic game taken from the book, the Mammoth book of the world's greatest chess games ever played. We're currently at page 41. And we got 789 pages in the book. So we're approaching the halfway mark. It's game 5. Steinitz, the world's first chess world champion, is playing Mikhail Ivanovich Chigorin, a Russian player from the second half of the 19th century. Chigorin is a person who was very much a leading force into the development of chess in Russia, which was the Russian Empire. At that point, it was before the revolution, obviously. And he is the one who founded a chess club in St. Petersburg. I'm not sure if it's the same chess club, the St. Petersburg Chess Club, but it very well could be. And William Steinitz, right here, he has the American flag. However, I wonder if he ever became American. I'm not sure. He was born in a country that no longer exists. I already explained that the last time around. He is from Prague, where you can't find the house of his birth because World War II happened and there is no more house left. Then he lived in Vienna for a while, and then he left for the UK, and then, he lived there for most of his life. And he is the first official world champion of chess. And he beats. Who did he beat? He beats. Wait, who was the first? I just read it. The first official world champion, a title he received after defeating Zukertort. There we go. So Zukertort and Steinitz have a match, and Steinitz wins. Then he has a couple of matches against Chigorin. This is from the second match, which was a close match. You can see the result right here. Spoiler alert: Steinitz is going to win this. Plus 10, minus 8, and 5 draws. And it was played in Havana, sort of foreshadowing the rise of another world champion later, Mr. Capablanca. I'm pretty sure we'll get to a bunch of his games later. But this is Steinitz, and Steinitz is a positional player. Now, why is that important? Because Chigorin is more of a tactician, and we are sort of seeing the birth of modern chess here, I would say, because Philidor in the 17th century 18th century, 1700s. He is like, yeah, you have to play positionally. It's very important. And everybody's like, meh, positional, boring. We don't want to do that. We want to go crazy and sacrifice pieces and gambit everything. Anderson, Kieseritzky, the immortal game, the romantic era of chess. And then Steinitz arises, and he crushes everybody. He becomes world champion. He writes a lot about chess. He writes a lot about his positional ideas. And where Philidor fails in sort of making positional chess the leading sort of dominant force in the way we approach the game, Steinitz, he succeeds, and he is basically setting up this new era of chess. And then Capablanca happens, and then everything turns more positional in the 20th century, and then eventually computers happen and things get crazy again with AlphaZero. Although we are going to see an AlphaZero like H-pawn this game, so Steinitz is no joke. He does the Harry 4 attack, which is what we'll see later. I haven't browsed through the game yet, but this is what I'm told about it. Chigorin is also famous for very interesting play in the Queen's Gambit. For all of you who don't know the Queen's Gambit, it's the c4 line, and then the Chigorin defense is knight c6. So this is named after this Chigorin, this particular Chigorin. So if you're interested in the queenside play, hopefully we'll get a bunch of good queenside d4 openings later. However, this is an e4 opening. In fact, it's one of the most frequently played openings ever in chess, and it's the Ruy Lopez if you're American or English speaker, and it's the Spanish if you're more European. It's a Spanish game. e4, e5. There we go, and then you go. Hold on. You attack the pawn, you defend the pawn, and then you attack the defender of the pawn. So that is the Ruy Lopez. The Spanish is on the board, and then Black has a couple of choices. The Morphy defense, I think, would be this guy. Would be this move, and then I think this is the Morphy, and then you could play the Archangel, and you go something like this. Or if you don't want to do that, there are a lot of things you could do. You could do this, something like this. Could happen. I think what happens in the game is a pretty good move. Attacking this pawn, and then I think the main line is castles, which is not what happens in the game. But the idea, I think, is if you take it, then you're just going to win the pawn back. And I mean, you're gonna take. You could do this. I mean, there's all kinds of stuff that can happen. D3 is what's played in the game, and this is the old way of playing against the Berlin, because what we're seeing is a very modern variation. This is called the Berlin. And nowadays, when people play this, every game is a draw. Unless you're Alireza Firouzja. Then anything can happen. If you haven't followed chess in a while, check out the game Alireza Firouzja plays. There's a really nice Spanish game against Fabiano Caruana that was played in the Pro Chess League this week, with excellent analysis by the godfather of online chess, Daniel Rensch from chess.com. It's a really nice game, and I thought that was a Berlin defense as well. Anyway, D3 is the old way of playing against the Berlin, according to the annotators. The modern methods involve offering the e-pawn with castles. So this is the more modern way. And although Black normally captures, when you go into this line, this is not done with the intention of keeping the extra pawn. After 5d4, Black tends to enter the endgame 5d4, and then you get the boring endgames that everybody always draw with knight d6. There we go. Bishop takes c6. Bam. And I think you take this way. The Berlin. D takes e6, D takes e5, obviously. And knight f5. And here we go. Queens come off. Or play the developing move 5, bishop e7. So either you enter the endgame, and now you have a very boring... Yeah, alright, so this is not the swashbuckling Spanish that we are going to see. 5 bishop e7 can also be played here instead of rook e1. 5 bishop e7. Bishop 5 bishop e7 instead of taking. No, 5 bishop e7. Rook here. And then 5 bishop e7. Wait, you sacrifice? That's not. What did I mean? Black tends to enter the endgame or play the developing move 5 bishop b7. This can't. This is just wrong, yeah? I take a piece? It's weird. The greedy 5 e takes d4 allows white to set up a powerful pin on the e file with 6 rook e1. The rook is already there. Once again, I don't understand the annotations. Okay, anyway, this is the game. And here you play 4 d6 and we're back in normal territory. Okay. c3, d6, g6. Okay. Knight b to d2. Makes sense. Bishop g7 makes sense. Knight f1 exclam question mark. Exclam question mark. And there is a diagram. By delaying castling, white is able to execute the classic Lopez knight maneuver. This knight can now emerge at either g3 or, on this occasion, e3, where it has a substantial influence over the center. Okay, so what they mean with the classic Spanish knight maneuver is this knight jumping here. Or, in this case, I guess here. Right? But if you castle, now that square is taken, and now if you want to play, excuse me, now if you want to play that knight maneuver, there's a rook there. So you can't do that. It's not allowed. Computer won't let me. So that's the reason. Okay. Bishop g7, knight goes here, castles. Bishop a4 diagram. Yeah, that move makes sense. I mean, that Spanish bishop is usually very important. It usually finds its way to this diagonal. I don't know much about the Spanish because I never play e4. So I'm not really that used to these kinds of positions. I played online occasionally just for kicks and giggles when I'm not playing, you know, a center gambit or some kind of a weird king's gambit or the Vienna, which are all e4, e5 openings that I find more fun than the Spanish. But something tells me I should play the Spanish more because I've seen a couple of good Spanish games lately by Alireza Firouzja, the Iranian, you know, grandmaster, chess prodigy / future world champion. I'm you know, putting it out there. He will eventually supersede in that list. Anyway, Daniel King analyzed a nice Spanish game, and he pointed out the fact that this diagonal usually is good on this diagonal. Now there are a lot of white pawns there, but you know the center will open up, and then this is a strong bishop. Also, maybe this diagonal is stronger. I mean there is no pin now. There is no pin now that the king is moved, so you might want to move it. Also, usually you get kicked there anyway, right? So you're gonna have to move that anyway. I think that's the point. White withdraws the bishop in order to preserve it for later on, right? Okay. Knight to d7. Sorry, that's knight e7. That's not the right one. This is d7. Let's try to understand knight to d7 here. So either knight here or knight there, because you do want to get that bishop out eventually. possibly here, possibly there. I'm not sure. So that knight is not here forever, I'm guessing. And if you go here, you hit that bishop. If you go there, you hit that bishop. So I'm guessing that might be the plan here. Oh. Chessbase should really come up with an idea for streamers that just eradicates all these arrows immediately, like an escape button, and get rid of all the annotations. Or he's moving it to play f4, sorry, f5, which I find very, very suspicious. I'm not, that can't be the reason at this point, right? I mean, there's just the immediate check, king in the corner, and then, I don't know, this idea seems kind of dangerous. It probably isn't yet. Probably isn't yet. Also, the queen is guarding that square, but, I mean, things get weak very, very quickly. So I think he's not gonna play. He doesn't do this to play the f pawn. I don't think so, at least. Especially not if you put the knight here and get some extra control there. I kind of like this square for the knight, to be honest. Maybe this is also an idea. It also covers that square. Anyway, let's see what happens. The following maneuver with his knight proves rather time-consuming without being especially constructive. Right, so it's a weird move. Knight to e3, there we go. Just controlling that f-file. Knight c5, okay, there we go. c5. All right, hitting the bishop. Bishop drops back to c2. There it is. I'm gonna call this the Daniel King bishop because he taught me this. I learned this from him. Thank you, Mr. King. Keep up the good work. You are awesome. Power Play Chess. If you're not familiar with Daniel King's chess channel, Power Play Chess. He does a monthly Patreon hangout with puzzles. It's a lot of fun, and he does all of these beautiful games. He's following the top tournaments. It's great. So definitely check that out. He's got a lot of playlists, and you can check out very nice games by all the players. It's great. All right. Anyway, bishop c2, the Daniel King bishop. Knight e6. Okay, also has a knight on his third rank. They now both have a knight on the e file on their third rank. So mirroring each other a bit. He's got some control here and there. This guy's got some control here and there. There are a lot of arrows. That's some cool drawing. This could totally be like a legit, like, symbol sign for a crazy cult or something. Anyway, this was told to me. This was foreshadowed by the annotators. This move, h4, gets an exclamation mark. The AlphaZero move, the Ginger GM move, right? Always play h4. Now, the annotators say that this knight maneuver, 1, 2, 3, 4 tempos. That has given White some initiative to play in the attacking fashion. So be careful with your tempos, ladies and gentlemen, because you might get punished in a swashbuckling attack, which is exactly what's going to happen. Probably the most important move of the entire game, h4. There we go. Steinitz certainly enjoyed attacking in such a fashion. In some ways, this offensively looks risky because White has yet to complete his development. However, Yeah, all those prophylactic moves, all these tempos with the knight, they made it pretty difficult because there's hardly any counterplay to be had now. White can and should attack because White hasn't. I wouldn't say anything, but I mean, this is a fantastic bishop later. This should be a good bishop at some point. This pawn and this rook are going to attack, right? So that is basically the gist of it. This is funny. Steinitz's idea of h2, h4 has not been lost in future generations. Just over 100 years later, the current world champion used a very similar idea with an equally favorable result. Current world champion. Kasparov Short, 1993. This is an old book, right? Kasparov got beaten by Kramnik. Kramnik got beaten by Anand. Anand got beaten by Carlsen, and Carlsen will be world champion forever until Alireza Firouzja takes his crown, which is inevitable. Or maybe somebody else, but probably Firouzja. I'm calling it. It's going to be Firouzja. But what's funny is that Kasparov and Short, they play, and then h2, h4 happens. But AlphaZero, the game-changing chess computer by Google. Is it by Google? It's probably by Google, right? Must be by Google. I think it's by Google. They play h4 every game. They play every game. And the wing attack apparently is a lot stronger than we used to think. Right, knight e7. There it is. There's my knight move. Too late. Is it too late? Finally, black hits on the correct plan to aim for the d6, d5 advance. Other moves are in danger of being either too slow or too panicky. Play this break. Play it. Let's see, what would I do as white here? Would I play this in order to just stop that e5 advance? And if takes, I would take, and now the knight has to move. Probably here. Maybe I can play this. Can I play this way? Obviously, if takes, I take the knight, so that's impossible. And if you take my pawn, that is fine, because now my bishop pair is unleashed in full effect. And I might come here and pin, attack them with tempo. The question is this worth the pawn sacrifice? Is it worth the pawn sacrifice? Yeah, I sacrificed a pawn. I'm positively sure it might not be, but I would still probably play it and claim that that bishop pair is just great. However, he's got the bishop pair as well, right? So I'm pretty sure the Kibitzer won't like it. Yeah, way better for black. Way better. Pawn and a half. Okay, so not a good idea. What is the best idea? Yeah, Stockfish just says h5. Just do h5. Which is what happens. h5. And Stockfish likes this a lot. Stockfish is like, yeah, that's good. That's good. And basically, if you don't play c6, every move is almost a pawn ahead for white. Or even more than a pawn. You have to play c6 here. Which is not what happens in the game. You have to play this, and he plays d5. Which is not good. Yeah, Stockfish, this thing is red, even. Stockfish really doesn't like that move. h5, d5. H takes g6, f takes g6, question mark? Dubious. He takes with the f pawn, opening up the rook. But there's good and there's not good. Yeah, it's not a blunder. They give it a question mark. That's a bit too strong, maybe. H takes g6 is a bit better, but still not good. I guess maybe the idea was that now you have an open rook file. If I take the other way, now I have the open rook file. Semi-open file. It's not fully open because there's a pawn here. So maybe Chigorin was thinking, look, I know I'm worse, but I could be worse facing an attack on my king with an open rook file, which is just fully in full effect. Or I can be worse, and I might generate something over the f file, because now my file is open. I'm not saying that's what he thought. I'm saying that's what I think if I do this way. Which is probably, you know, why Chigorin didn't think that way. Anyway, he took with the f pawn. And they got a lot to say about this. This was an occasion where black should have definitely adhered to the capture towards the center principle. Perhaps Chigorin was seeking counterplay along the now half-open f-file. There you go. That's what I'm saying. But in reality, all that black had done to weaken his king position. Yeah. The threats now remain the threat on the h file remains because this is just a very weak pawn, and now there is a very very annoying pin here. If you just put the bishop on this square, that is horrible, right? So now you want to open up those light files. There you go. Knight takes d file. Just clear that entire center away and go bishop d3. This is a very normal plan where you have a tempo on the queen, that knight is pinned to the king, and this is a very weak diagonal now, and this is still a very weak pawn, so you haven't really solved any of your issues because my knight is jumping here unless you put it, I'm guessing queen here to prevent the knight jumping in, because if this is pinned and attacked twice, that is not a good position. Maybe you could. No, this is terrible. This is horrible. All of this stuff is really horrible. Now you just take the queen, of course. Okay, I'm not awake. So bishop d3. It all makes sense to me. And if I understand it, Chigorin must have seen it. If I understand it, Chigorin must have seen it and gone, I can play this way. Stockfish is like, this is not good. This is a pawn 3 down for black, right? Material is equal, but white is playing a point and a half up. So definitely what I would have done. All of these things get exchanged. Bishop d3, queen c6. Why didn't we play this? Because it's a blunder. Because queen takes g2, that's the reason. Yeah, alright, that's a good reason not to play that immediately. But it's an idea maybe later? Not sure. Starfish is like play d4, play d4. Is that what he does? Queen e2. Queen e2? Yeah, queen e2. I don't get it. Yeah, I do get it. You want to play for the e5 pawn. And then the knight and everything is falling apart. Okay. Bishop d7 was played in the game. Okay. Got to develop that bishop. Connect rooks. Beyond repair already. Yeah. Starfish is... I mean, this is, according to the engine, it's not the best move, but we're not engines. A5 apparently is the best move according to the engine. But, I mean, you got to develop that bishop somewhere. And, I mean, at this point, if you're black, you know that you're probably losing the game. Question is, should we take on e5 immediately? The answer is fries. Now the answer is no, we shouldn't. King f1, protect the pawn. King f1, that's the engine recommendation. That's funny. He didn't play it, of course, because it's a crazy move. I mean, it makes sense. You want to take on d5, but if you do it immediately, the same thing happens that we just saw already, and this is not what you want. I mean, you could take the bishop, and then the rook hangs with check, and it's rook f1 might be the move, and now the bishop has to go somewhere. Takes. By the way, I'm totally stealing Ben Feingold jokes here. The answer is fries. I shouldn't make jokes. Ever. Okay. So this is still good. I guess you could play this way. It's still good for white. However, if you play king f1 first, now this king is protecting the pawn, and now this is a legit threat. But king f1 is weird. It goes against your everything you've been taught to just play king f1. Although in this position it kind of makes sense. Maybe this is an idea as well. Developing the bishop with tempo. Oh, sorry. Bishop d7. Developing the bishop with tempo kind of makes sense. And then if you exchange, now you're getting ready maybe to go a little crazy. Although, not immediately. Yeah. Still good for white. Anyway, king h8 was played. Wait, what did white do? Oh, okay. Develop the bishop. Okay, develop it to a different square. Developing the bishop was a good idea, but immediately exchanging the dark squared bishop was apparently not preferred. It's not as good a move as my move. Bishop h6 is a better move, according to the engine. King f1 is the best move. Nobody ever does that. Now bishop h6 is the best move, which was my suggestion. Knight takes e5 can be played. All right, so I'm better than Steinitz. After obtaining a positional domination, now is the right time to complete development. Yeah, to the wrong square. Knight takes e5, queen takes g2 would spoil all the earlier work. That's not true. We've just seen that. we can actually play this way, and if queen takes, just play rook here, and we're still good. This is not spoiling anything. But, you know, I'm doing this with an engine. This is, now I get it. I get it now. This was written in a time where Kasparov was world champion. So these guys are analyzing themselves. They're doing it on a board by hand, replaying the game, writing down notes. They're not checking anything with an engine, because at this point, engines were like, I don't know, you would probably have more computing power in your mobile phone when it was completely full, broken, and submerged in several 100 meters of water than a real computer had in those days. So these guys are doing it by the power of their mind. I'm saying I'm just putting the engine on, and the engine tells me what is a good move, which is probably why I will never become a good chess player, because I always take the lazy route. Let's get rid of the kibitzer. Let's get rid of it. It wouldn't spoil anything. It would be it would still have an advantage. King h8. Castles long, my favorite castling. Queenside castles, or castles long. Rook a to e8. Wait, I can do it this way. Yeah, rook a to e8. Protecting the knight. Okay, makes sense. Queen f1 exclam. All right, apparently this is a great move. Exclam. There we go. Why? What's the plan here? Okay, so for starters, you castle into a pin of this pawn. Then you relieve pressure on this pawn for some reason. What is your plan here? Is your plan to do something like that? I don't understand. Why is it an exclamation mark? More attacking than defensive, says Steinitz. More attacking than defensive. So, what is the attack then? I never understand these retreating moves. This is an attacking move? How is this an attacking move? This subtle queen retreat, very subtle, which has many different purposes. Which purposes? Is a move of star quality. Firstly, white removes the queen from the e-file, thus eliminating many black's tactical tricks involving knight f4, knight d4. Tactical tricks. Knight f4. All right. Yeah, okay, so the point is, if we make a move, then this, kind of annoying. So you're going to have to retreat this anyway. And now this bishop has come to... That's a drunk bishop. There we go. Now this bishop has come to life. Can we actually sack it? Because we get this bishop back. We can actually do that. Yeah, I'm not sure if it's good, but I don't have many choices, right? Yeah, now this is annoying. Okay? So obviously, this is also possible. Now, if you take with the knight, because again, we've castled into the pin, takes, and obviously you can't take this way because rook hangs queen, and you can't take that way because you've castled into a pin. So your king side is being wrecked this way. Might even be better. So, alright, that's the defensive purpose. You just get out of the pin, and now this move does very, very little, right? Although it's still annoying, maybe. Okay. But why is it more attacking? There's also a much deeper aspect to 20 queen f1, which becomes obvious very soon. Okay, so it's more attacking than defensive, and they tell you why it's a defensive move, but they save the attacking idea for the game, because that's what's going to happen, apparently. a5. Passive defense doesn't help black, so you gotta do something. Okay, d4 exclam, you should have played that a long time ago. Takes, takes. Takes, takes, takes. Bam! Rucksack. There you go. Didn't see that coming. I mean, black is trying to take over the initiative here. And black is trying to take over the attack. Which is what you should do when you're under pressure. But this is a nice rucksack. Let's see, if you're black, do you cry already? Is this already over? Rook takes h7 exclam, revealing to his startled opponent the real point of queen f1. The black king will find itself checkmated in a mid-board. Okay, so for starters, let's rule out the obvious. You are not allowed to take this diagonal, especially that square. There's a dark squared bishop, so if you don't take the rook and you run your king away, this comes with check. And then it's also annoying because you are not allowed to cross any of these files, and you have to go here. And now the queen check is devastating. So if you're going to be in a horrible king run, you might as well be in a horrible king one, a rook up, right? So you kind of have to take it. Now I'm guessing queen h1 check is the move, which it is. And then rook g7, because... Okay, so rook g7 now runs into the same thing, yeah? Why not go... Okay, you're not allowed to go there. Gee, this is annoying. Only one square for the king. Oh, you go there? Did not expect that. I'd expected this move. Why is that so bad? Oh, you can block with the rook. Okay, you can block with the rook. Or with the queen, but I mean, rook must be preferred here. Right, and now you're playing. Okay, I get it. So you block with the rook and you give back some material, and in the end of the line, I mean, if you obviously you can't take for obvious reasons. Now you're just a rook down, right? This is over. You've sacked the rook for nothing. So that should not be done. So you can't take it. But now you don't really have an attack. So you're gonna push the king further away into the open. Yeah, if you go there, obviously you win back the rook with check, and you have to. Yeah, you have to do annoying things. Wait, where do you go? What? All right, you have to give your bishop. And now it's even mate. So obviously that can be done. So you go here, which was played in the game. Okay, so check makes the most sense. King e5. Queen d4, and the guy gave up. Queen takes d4. Now you have the knight. Yeah, the guy gives up. Which makes sense because, you know, mate is just around the corner. Diagram. Let's see, what are the annotators saying? After queen f5, white can choose between g4 x mate and queen f4 mate. So you go here, and this is mate, which is I think the most funny mate. Or you go queen f4 mate, which is also a funny mate, because bishop protects. Right. Now, I dare you, in this position, could you calculate that mate? That's a mate in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Wait, is it mate in 6 or mate in 3 in this case? 3 white moves? How does that work? Mate in 7, apparently. Mate in 7 moves. Yeah. Would you be able to calculate that? Bam! This is a really clever attack, right? Nice. Lessons to take from this game. Don't dither with your plan. Here, black wanders around aimlessly for too long before deciding to carry out the logical d5 advance. So, that was the point in which I made all the knight moves visible on the board. So this is basically, there we go. There, 1, 2, 3. This diagram. Don't do this. You're wasting tempos, and you give the guy an attack. Look out for the unexpected. No shit, Sherlock. Sometimes pedestrian moves can be replaced by a sudden idea which causes your opponent immediate problems. Yeah. H4. H4. Ginger GM approved. Also, Alpha Zero approved. Right? So, Ginger GM. A move which looks to have merely one purpose, but in fact contains some heavily concealed threats. Queen F1 exclam. 20 Queen F1 exclam. Yeah, I didn't understand that move at all. That was a really clever idea. To not, because it does so many things at the same time here. Right? Queen F1. Getting out of all of these counterplay ideas. And at the same time opening up that idea of just taking this. Queen F1. Beautiful. Alright. That was the game Steinitz Chigorin. Next game in the list, number 6, is another Steinitz game, but he plays von Bardeleben. 1895. So, that's still 100 years before this book was written. This book is really old, by the way. Okay. I won a book, by the way. The Tata Steel tournament is over. I participated. I won a book. I won Herman Groot, and chess strategy for club players. So, we're going to do this one later. This book was written 2009. Also before you were born. Third improved and extended edition. 2017, published by New in Chess Alkmaar. So, that's just around the corner for me. I live in Enkhuizen, in case you're wondering. Alright, thank you very much. Also, I have to give a shout out to some of my pupils who were wondering how to donate for my they found me on Twitch and they found me here. And so they wanted to donate, and I told them, no, it's free. And then they still gave me money, like cash money. Like they started giving me money. So, shout out to A2A, all the guys who gave me money today. Thank you very much. Everybody knows I'm a teacher and I need all your support. Like, give me all your money. That's great. Thank you very much. All right. Bye-bye. I'm signing off now.